Yeah, another announcement is that Lucas is not here. So next year, I'll step down as the lead organizer of this meetup. So Lucas, will be the lead organizer of this meetup. So if you guys want to help, organize our activity, please let me Christine know, Lucas know. So we welcome all the volunteers to help us. So now I'll let Christine to give the session today. So you guys already know Christine, so I don't need to introduce her, right?
I stop. Already stop. Yeah.
Close. Otherwise the voice is not able to hear. Yeah, you have to stay.
Hello everyone. How are you doing today? Did you have a long day?
Yes.
Yeah, you just came here from work, right?
Yes.
It's a long day, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I try to make it more fun and to make your day worth it coming here. Again, welcome to here, and this is the last of our series for this year, 2018, and the workshop 1, 2, 3, and this is the 4th one. And for the last previous 3 workshops, we have a lot of information. And the very first one, we talk about where we can get the data source either from the government site or to some commercial site or to some organization research site. And then the second one, we talk about how to look at the claims and how hospital, how home health and all the providers submit their claims. And then the last one, we also how to look at the data. Today, I really want you to roll up your sleeve, okay, and to do something, okay? And I assume that everybody bring your laptop. You have your laptop. If you don't, ask your neighbor to see whether you can share, okay? Or do a joint project. Maybe just move around. And you don't have to sit like in the seat. You can just move around. I think it's better for you to team up with another person. How about that? Find your at least two people together, because sometimes you want another pair of glasses. If you don't have another pair of glasses, I can let you know. It's always good to have another person to check your work or to brainstorming. And there are multiple ways to do the same thing. Okay. First of all, again, I won't say enough that we're very, very grateful, especially at the end of the year, at this time of the year. We very, very thank you, Nashville Technology Council. Okay. Go to their website. Okay. This is where Nashville Technology Council office is. And because of them, we can have this room. And I really like this room. It is well equipped and with audio and visual and all the nice chair and tables. And also we would like to be thankful to our another sponsor, SL Healthcare, the company. And please spend some time to go to their website. And sometimes they will have job opening there because it is an expanding, growing company. So you might be interested in checking their website. And because of them, we have very good pizza and drink and snack. So I'm very grateful to them and to show the support and to support us for the whole year. If your company, go back to your company and spread the word that here, this is a free to join meetup. If your company is interested and want to support the community, and even for $10, $20, $30, I don't mind. Yeah, as long as it's dollar, yeah, just give it to me. Okay. So I appreciate if you can go back to your company and promote our meetup as well to your manager, to your director, or even to your executives. All right. So are you ready to do something? And again, please, yeah, team up with another person. You'll find it more fun if you team up. Yeah. I always love to team up with people so that I enjoy and I learn and I share. And so it's just fun. It's just fun. Much better than do it alone. Yeah. I assume that you already, how many of you have downloaded the data from the CMS site? All of you, I assume, okay, good. Anyone have trouble of downloading the data? If you still don't have the data, I have the jump drive here, and you can just plug in your laptop. If anybody need it, I just in case, I know that all of you would be ready, right? And okay, and also we have that instruction sheet, the homework, the workshop. Okay. And we want to pick your tool. It's up to you. Okay. Actually, most of the time doing data analytics, tool is secondary. Okay. Whether you use a hammer or plier or a saw or electronic saw, doesn't matter. It is like secondary. Okay. The matter is the insight. The information, how much information that you can extract from numbers, okay? And either quantitative or qualitative. Sometimes it may not be numbers, sometimes it may be a bunch of strings of text, okay? So the most critical thing is how much information, how much insight, intelligence. People sometimes will prefer to call that extract from database, data files, numbers, text. That is the most important. And of course, you pick your own tools. Some people prefer to use SAS. Some people prefer to use R and with the R Studio. And some people would like to use Better. Or some people say, oh, Excel is good enough for me. That's okay. Yeah, sometimes don't underestimate Excel. Excel can be very powerful in some contexts. Yeah. So just pick. Let me make a survey. How many of you use SAS? Some kind? Yeah. You use SAS? Yeah. And how many of you raise your hand if you use R Studio? Cool. Yeah. And how many of you just like, oh, I don't care, Excel is good, or Power BI? Yeah, I know that now the Power BI, I really miss their meetup. Yeah, I used to go to the Power BI meetup very often, but lately I'm kind of lazy. Yeah. So anything, Stater, anyone use Stater? Stater is another very good tool, especially in statistics. Python. Oh, Python? Yeah, Python. And some other? Python? Python. Okay, good. Yeah, so just pick your tools, okay? You pick your tool, whatever you feel more comfortable and you think that is efficient. All right, first of all, number one, exercise. You ready? Can we go now? Okay. What kind of data is reported in the file? When I ask what kind of data, is like, what is the source? You got to know the source. Don't overlook that. If somebody just in the hallway gives you the data, you have to think twice whether you should use it because of credibility, okay? So where is the source comes from? It's very critical, and it affects the credibility of the data, the validity of the data, and also the biasness of the data. So you need to ask, number one, what is the source of the data? Okay, who generate that data? Okay, so when you are given a project, when somebody hand you a file, I mean electronic file, of course, then you got to ask, where do they get it from? Okay, are they a bunch of like survey or from wherever that nobody knows? some kinds of like a make-believe number there. So very, very important because it will affect your whole output. You don't want to spend your days and days and hours to build a fancy model and finally you find out those data is the make-believe data, right? So very critical. In this case, of course, this is from the CMS, the one that I asked you to download, and I think they are pretty credible, right? They are pretty credible, the CMS federal government, right? And it is the inpatient charge data financial year 2016. Okay? And from time to time, CMS will make public available what they call the public use file, okay? PUF, public use file. And of course, de-identified, okay? You couldn't know who is in there. And this is the file that is only inpatient. And I assume if you have any question, interrupt me. And I assume that you have some knowledge about inpatient, outpatient, that kind of thing after you came for the Period 3 workshop. Because I remember in the second workshop, we talked about what is inpatient, outpatient, ambulatory, and pharmacy, I mean the drug, okay? So this is inpatient, remember that. And also this is the IPPS payments, the prospective payment system payments, all those providers in that payment system, okay? So first of all, read this and to get yourself familiar with what kinds of data it is, in which setting, and under what kinds of contract, okay? And in what level. And so this one is by hospital and by MSDRG, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth line. The PUF is organized by hospital and Medicare Severity Diagnosis Related Group, MSDRG. So you need to be familiar with your data before you can even think about doing any summary statistic or modeling. Okay? The more you understand the data file, and the better your output, the better your analytics. Okay. And let's take a look. Did you get something like this? Did you get something like this, right? The provider, this is in Excel, and either in the CSV or Excel, you should get something like that. Okay? And it is the DLG summary for Medicare Inpatient Prospective Payment Hospital FY 2016. And note, always read the note because it tells you the qualification of the file. What does it say? Includes discharges from hospital located within the 50 United States and District of Columbia. So the geographic, okay? So you know that it does not cover Mars. And hospitals with fewer than 11 discharges within a DLG have been suppressed for that DLG. That means any hospital with less than 11, because of the sample size, they don't want people to be able to identify the patient there, and so they just suppress it. So always don't skip the note, because the note will tell you how you interpret your output, your analytics. Okay, people at the other side of the table, when you present your analytics, will always challenge you. What is the qualification of your study, of your analytics? Okay. And let's take a few cases, the top 3 cases. Okay, I kind of pivot it because it is in a row. I just flip it, the column and row, and so it's easier to put on the PowerPoint. You don't have to, because if you're looking at the file, you will know what are the fields in the file. Okay, familiar yourself, because then you will say, hey, I want to build a model. I want to have their patient's age. Sorry, we don't have it. Okay, so before you even think about building any model or analytics, first of all, you need to know what ingredients, just like you cook a meal, what ingredient you have. Do you have the ginger? Do you have the green onion? Do you have a steak or chicken? Okay, then determine what kinds of dish finally you cook. Make sense? Right? So don't skip all these steps. Usually I spend a lot of time to just looking at the data to get myself knowing what the data is. So tell me what are there. We have the DLG definition, which is the MSDLG. And the first 3 letters are the MSDLG code. And then the rest will be the description. And then we have the provider ID. Okay, for example, like Vanderbilt is 440039. I think I remember it correctly. Yeah, usually the first 2 digits. What is the first 2 digits tells you of the provider ID? The first 2 digits tells you, like Vanderbilt is 440039, and St. Thomas is 44 whatever. State. Usually the first 2 letter is state. It's a state code. For example, like this, okay, you can see 01, which is in Alabama, and 03, which is in Minnesota. The first 2 letters. The API, API is associated with the physician. And this is like in the CMS system that they assign the provider with an ID. Yeah. So it is not the same as NPI, yeah. but the same nature. And of course, we have the provider name, the name of the hospital. Remember, this is inpatient claim. Remember, this is inpatient, meaning that it is a hospital. It is not a clinic, okay? And we have the street address, city, state, and zip code. And we have this HRR description, hospital referral region. Anyone can tell me what is HRR? You can Google it right away. What's HRR? Hospital referral region. It is like in the metropolitan, for example, Nashville, right? Not only the city.
It's like a metro area?
Yeah, it's similar to like a metro area. So it is a much bigger than just that hospital. And then like Vanderbilt, St. Thomas, it belongs to the same HRR, okay? In that geographic, it is geographic. And there's a website tell you how to map all the hospital to the HHR region, right? Yeah, so HRR sometimes is important, not for today, our exercise, but I remember one time I have to use the HRR, okay? Just need to know what it is about. And of course, the others are the metrics, total discharges. Okay, total discharges are how much the volume, okay? And average cover charges. And it is almost equivalent to the allowed amount. Have you ever heard of allowed amount? It is like the charges that the hospital is send a bill and to CMS, and that is their cover charge. Cover charges may not be the same as charges, okay? And cover charges is like, it used to be called allowed amount. Yeah, in commercial world, allowed amount. And you charge it, but it may not be the same. Usually it's very close, yeah. And total payment, okay. And then Medicare payment. Why is there is a difference between total payments and Medicare payment? You can see the first case, the average total payment is about 296,000, but the average Medicare payments is only 150,000. Why there is a difference there? You guess.
Medicare isn't covered all.
Yeah, it may not be covered all. There might be some other.
It's like out
of pocket. Yeah, exactly. Out of the pocket of the patient. Yeah, it's almost like a deductible. Yeah, copay, that kind of thing in the commercial world. Okay. Yeah. All right. Get better. You feel more acquainted with your data. Okay. Feel acquainted with your data. Okay. So I just summarized this. The data information sources, a CMS public use file. It is inpatient by inpatient MSDLG, and type. It is charges and MSDLG by provider. Okay, MSDLG and by provider, 2 level. And the size, check if the file that you got is 197,000 rows. Did you get the same number?
Yes.
When you check, yeah, make sure that you got the same file as me. And then there is 7,284,000. When you sum, how do you get this greater than 7 million discharges? You sum them up, sum all the charges, okay? Use Python, use R to write that sum total charges, the field total charges, you sum it, you should get this number. Did you check? Okay? And yeah, I did check, it is exactly this number. And it covers about 75% of the Medicare IPP as discharge. So remind you, this is not 100% file. Okay? It is only 75% file. Okay? CMS did not release all, but just 75%. The time window, it is CMS financial year, FY 2016. And your company has your own financial year from January to December, maybe. And for example, Vanderbilt, we have the, I forgot, July, July 1st to June. And then CMS has October to September. So it may not be always start in January. So it's the financial year is October 2015 to September 2016. Okay, qualification is the limitation. So if there's something that you have to bear in mind when you do your analysis, hospital with fewer than 11 discharges with a DRG have been suppressed for that DRG. So if you like visit a friend in a rural area and then that hospital, you couldn't find it in this database, okay, most likely because they have patient like less than 11. So that's why they won't put it there. They don't want people to like identify the patients if it is the sample size too small, right? For security, confidentiality, HIPAA. Okay, so let's do it. Have you tried this? Number 2, what are the national top 10 DRG in terms of top 10 in what? Top 10 in highest total discharges. Have you found it? Did you find it? Can you show me? Can you show the top 10?
I need your thumb drive.
Oh, sure. It will be pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, it is in the folder called healthcare analytics.
Okay.
And then there's 2 files, either Excel or CSV.
Oh,
Same thing. Yeah. Depends on what tool you use. If you use iPhone, probably you have to use CSV. If you use Excel, then just the Excel. Yeah. So check this. Did you come up with the same top 10 as here? Did you come up with the?
Nope.
Huh? Let me know. Okay. Maybe I did something wrong too. The top 10 total discharges, DRG nationwide, the whole file. So why it is the sum of total discharges? Because this file is by providers. So you have to add the total discharges on all providers under the same DRG. Right?
Yeah.
Make sense? You cannot just like in the raw data sort that the top 10. No, because we have to sum all the providers that have discharges in that DRG. Make sense? So that's what people mean top 10. Of course, if you say, I only want to know a particular hospital, then you can filter out, right? But in this question is top 10. So how many of you, please raise your hand, get the same top 10 list as here? Or you need some time to do it? Yeah. So you have to sum. So in R, you have to sum. I have the code. You know how to write the code? Yeah. Or in Excel, you just do a pivot table. Actually, this is from Excel. I did all this in Excel. And you just pivot the table and you just add. And on the cell, you just sum total discharges. No problem. Let's do it the same together. Okay. I want you to find the top 10 and exact top 10 is here. Okay, I see. Yeah. Show this top 10. That's why sometimes Excel is pretty good enough. Yeah. For this kinds of basic analysis. Yeah. In Excel, I just did the pivot table. Yeah, pivot table is so easy.
Doing pivot table is easy. How do you do the top end stuff? You just use like top end or something done like that.
Uh-huh. Oh. Oh, yeah, that's okay. I have to log in yet. I haven't logged in yet. Yeah. But that's why I said you have to be familiar with the data so that you know what the data, when you are asked to do a certain thing, you know that, oh, I have to sum them up. And
What is it that explicates into the
DLG definition. There's only one field called DLG definition. Yeah. Unloading. So actually, if you don't mind, you can use Excel and you can get the answer pretty quick. Because this is not a very big file, only 7 million. It's not, actually, it's not at 7 million. This is only like how many rows? Yeah. So. Yeah. So the pivot table. Right. Yeah. And I have to just like this, right? So here, this is the one I did for Tennessee, and in the pivot table, if you like, any question you want me to go through the pivot table with you, or you're okay?
What about for TV? How do you do the top management side? Excel.
Oh, you sort, okay, you sort it. For example, you have this, you just sort it. Let's say I want the top 10 of here, you just sort, and then you got the largest.
Yeah. Oh, then you sort them, but yeah.
And then you get the top 10, you just like count the top 10.
Oh, you can do them in DAX and you can actually do the top 10.
Yes, yes. If you write some, yeah, you can just like, but in this exercise, yeah, you don't even need to write any code. Okay. Yeah. And especially when your boss asks you in the morning, and then you haven't wake up yet. So this is good enough. This is good enough, okay? Just like count, okay? Okay, the 13, row 13, copy and paste, done, right? So sometimes because this is like pretty basic, yeah. So I assume if you, don't worry if you need to ask me questions. So after a while, can you come up with that list? Can you come up with that, it should be back into the PowerPoint here. Yeah. Did you get that?
So you're just gonna do different measures and then just say top ends of different measures.
Yes, exactly. You will do the same. So that's why I want to make sure that you can do the first one.
Okay.
Once you can do the first one, the others is straightforward.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, I say straightforward.
Mostly.
There's a catch. There's a catch, okay? Let's do this, make sure. Let me check. Okay, raise your hand if you have trouble getting this list. Okay, check your list. Do you get the same list here? Top 10, D by DRG. The trick is you have to sum all the discharges by provider and under that DRG. The reasons is, take a look. What are there? The very first one is, in the United States, there are so many people suffer septicemia or severe sepsis. And this is all about that, okay? And then the second one is joint replacement, major joint replacement or reattachment, okay? So, I mean, this is the cost Medicare, right? This is medical service, right? And you can see there's so many, okay? And then, this is discharges. Doesn't mean that they are costly. May not costly, okay? Maybe they are very cheap. Yeah, it's just like the frequency, the volume.
Oh, so
Because it's discharges. Frequency.
Oh, that's
Not
frequency.
cost. Not cost.
Okay.
So that's why we need to do the second metric cost.
Do you know sepsis is something? Is this for people that are in sepsis, for people that a patient is in the hospital or something else, and they have an onset of sepsis, which is fairly common? Is that going to get grouped into this?
Good questions. Let me repeat the questions. Okay. The question is, wow, DRG 871, septicemia. Okay. Did the patient get the sepsis while they are in the hospital, or they go to the hospital because they have sepsis elsewhere? Right? That's the questions that the definition of here. Because we know when a person stays in the hospital for too long, if they are bedridden, then they will develop sepsis, right? What do you think? What do you think? The choice two. Number one, they went to the hospital because they have sepsis. Or they were in the hospital and then they developed sepsis, and that's why it's reported. What do you think? So again, familiar with the data. Familiar with the data. What does this DLG mean? This MSLG mean? And what is this data? It is inpatient, meaning that these people have a hospital stay, okay, stay overnight, okay, in the hospital. This is an admission DRG when they are admitted because of that problem. So not that sepsis that they developed during their hospital stay, even though we track that. That's one of the quality metrics.
Is there a way to track kind of upstream if they have a stay, but not like a prior contact? Like if the patient is being admitted for sepsis, I'm assuming it's likely that they were seen in the hospital recently in the past, and then they had complications that went home. So is there a way to capture that in the CMS?
Not in CMS data, yes, but not in here, but not in this POF5. Yeah, good question. And we want to know the reasons, right? Prior to the admission to the hospital, and probably they developed the sepsis way before they like lying in the bed for 5 days and never get up and they got sepsis, and now they don't feel good. They went to the hospital, and then obviously the doctor checked, oh wow, you have sepsis, and then let's treat that, and then on top of other problems as well, right? So yeah, in the claims data, either in the CMS data or commercial data, you will be able to track that. You just look for the longitudinal data of the same patient. Yeah, but not here.
Yeah. Okay. And the patient data, I think you can get that from CMS, but that's not complicated.
Not here. Not in this slide. Yeah. But go back to your company. If your company is a hospital, then in your data warehouse, you should have the tracking of a patient. Then you can track for a patient coming in for sepsis, septicemia, and then you can go, 3 days ago or 3 months ago, this patient had been triggered something else. Yeah, then you can go back and track what is like the comorbidity or the past history of this patient. Yeah, so I always do that. So it is able if you have the all the claims data or your hospital patients level data. Yeah, but not here. Okay, so and then what is the number 3, number 4? Heart failure. It is really no wonder that in almost of the CMS payment reform program, heart failure always there. Heart failure is always one of the conditions that in the CMS payment reform program. For example, the hospital readmission program, the variable, value-based purchase program, and bundle payment, and episodes of care. Heart failure is always there. Why? It's because it is the top 3 and top 4 most. This is only most, right? Not expensive. Not talking about dollar yet. It is a lot of people have the problem with heart failure. Okay? And you can see what is the difference between 291 and 292? Can you tell me what's the difference? That's not. What is the difference between 291 and 292? What's the difference? What's that stand for? NCC and CC. If you came to the workshop number 2 by Rachel Hayes, she talked about it. Remember? Quiz. This is a quick quiz. With 291 is heart failure and shock with major comorbidity conditions. Okay. Major and the second one, heart failure and shock with just comorbidity and conditions. So a little bit different. Which one is more severe in terms of the medical condition of the patient? With MCC or CC? With MCC, major, meaning more severe. So there is a severity index. Okay? So the severity index for 291 is much higher than CC, the 294. Okay? And there is a 293. 293 is heart failure and shock without CC, without MCC. So under heart failure, you have 3 MSDLG, Medicare severity. Okay. For example, like the second last, renal failure, 283, you have renal failure with CC. So you would expect that there is somewhere in the file, you have a renal failure with MCC. Yeah, most of the time, it is not all, most of the time this condition, this disease come in 3 levels. With MCC, with CC, without any of them. Yeah, so usually it comes with 3 levels. All right? Feel comfortable with this? Are you able to generate this is why I spend most of the time on this slide, because once you know how to generate this list, the rest is easy. If you couldn't generate this slide,
You're fired.
Here's the door. You said that. I didn't say that. You said that. So if you have trouble, let me know. Don't worry about it, because I know that some people may not coming from the healthcare background, and this is like a meetup, and we just sit and relax, and then you don't have to feel the pressure to generate that. If you don't know how to, let me know. Okay. So how about the second one? This is tricky. What is the national top 10 DLG in terms of highest average cover charges? How to do it? And do you come up with the same list as here? This is again from the pivot table, Excel. I love Excel. Especially in the morning when I haven't woke up yet. Yes.
Does each trip with the covered, say you have total discharges, maybe not all discharges covered charges?
Cover charges.
Is that just?
Yeah. Are you able, do you have the same list? You try, just try, okay? This is for you to try, that's why I want you to bring your app up here. Yeah. Okay? So this one is tricky because I have the same exercise for master program students learning this, okay? And almost half of it kind of scratching their head. Christine, I couldn't come up with the same list as yours. My numbers are all.
First on the average of that.
Okay. First of all, in order to get this, you have to sum all the discharges, just like what we did in the first slide, under DLG. Okay. Number two, you have to multiply at the provider level. Go back to the raw data. You have to multiply your each provider, each row, the average covered charges, dollar, multiply their volume, which is the total discharges at the provider level, to get total sum for that provider. Okay? And then sum the sum up. Sum the sum of the charges dollar, because each hospital may not have the same volumes. So if you just sum the average, you will mislead it.
So you get the total and you divide it by the
and then
count or something
yes,
like that? Okay.
and then the last column is just the average, just the ratio of the two. To get the second column, the second right column, you need to multiply your total discharges times your average. Remember, your file, you only got average coverage charges at provider level, at MSDLG level. You need to find the sum of total charges for that DLG to that provider. We call that weighted sum, right? Weighted sum. And then, after you get that, you sum them up. Let me show you the Excel file. The Excel file I have is here. Now here, okay, this is your raw data. Look at this. All you are given is average cover charge. This is already an average for that provider, for that MSDLG, right? And so you need, and then this is the volume. So you need to get the total cover charges, which is just multiply the two total charges, multiply the average cover charges. That is the total dollar. Go to that provider for that MSDLG. And then you create this column, the same thing you do it to total payment, the same you do it to total Medicare payment, okay? These three are the same formula. You just multiply the total charges by the respective column. After this, you do a pivot table. You do a pivot table, that is the sum of the sum, cover charges. Right? In order to get the average of that MSDLG, Then you divided this. This. Right? Make sense? Can you get something? This is for Tennessee, but if you want the national, so you have to go back to your original data to do some trick before you can do the average. Average is tricky because we have to do weighted average, right? Because their volume, each volume per provider may not be the same. Some hospitals are bigger, some hospitals are smaller. Okay. So go back to your original file, multiply the total discharges by the dollar, and then by starting from there, then you do your summary, you do your aggregation, okay? Sum all the total discharges at MSDRG level, sum all the total
At the same
cover at the same level, and then you divide it with that.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
You cannot just like sum the average. Okay, so I know that it takes us a lot of time to doing just these two slides. But once you get over these two slides, the rest is easy. The rest is easy because the trick is on this line. This is the trick about dollar. Okay. So that's why don't rush to do your analytics yet. Get familiar with what you have. Be familiar with your data. Be acquainted with your what's the meaning of those data. Okay. And now, what is the top one? The top very first one. What is the most expensive? Now this time we can talk about expensive. What is the most costly, expensive condition? Heart transplant. Not surprised, right? Heart transplant, right? Yeah. It's not sepsis anymore because sepsis is only the volume. It may not be the costly. Sepsis is easy to treat, right? It won't take a surgeon to do a sepsis, whatever. I'm not a clinical person, I don't know, but like just intuitively, I think that is that. But the heart transplant and I don't know what is the second one. What is that second one? ECMO. That is an alien language. Okay. And then 007, lung transplant. Obviously, lung transplant can be very costly, can be very expensive, right? So all these top 10 is, I know heart transplant, yeah. So all this, you can see that it's a very, very expensive and very, very complicated surgery. So it makes sense, right? The top 10 makes sense to me, yeah. So sometimes you have the top 10 in volumes, may not be in the top 10 in the most expensive. The two lists may not be the same MSDRG. So, and I don't want to go next because the next is just the average total payment, the same thing. Yeah, and easy. Medicare payment, easy. Yeah. In Tennessee, you just filter out all the provider in Tennessee instead of national. Okay. Obviously, the number of charges will be smaller because it's only Tennessee, not 50 states, only one state, Tennessee. But you just repeat it, okay? And to get yourself familiar again. Yeah. And just like something you do your homework, yeah, the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. All right? So you can do it at home, or you can like call me, and then we can have a coffee time, and then we can do it.
Can you post all this stuff without the answers? Well, the answers, but not how you got it.
Without what? The danger?
Can you post that?
Why you said dangerous? This is PUF, public use file.
No.
Right?
No,
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It will be available in the website.
Oh,
Check, right? Yeah, all the PowerPoint. Yeah,
Okay.
in our workshop, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll post it in our website, in our meetup website. Okay, so we are done. Number 1, number 2, number 3, right? Tennessee. All right, number 4. Well, I'm interested in heart failure. Remember, in the very first one, heart failure is the second and the third. heart failure with MCC, heart failure with CC. So I'm interested in why so many people in the United States have heart failure problem, okay? And are they expensive to treat? Okay, so let me take, and heart failure is DLG 291, 292, and 293. Okay. So I filter out all other MSD, just keep these three. What is the national distribution of total discharges on just these three MSDLG? Again, the same, okay? But instead of like the top 10, you have the distribution. Let's look at this, how to interpret this. And are you able to generate something like this? Did you do your homework ahead of time and generate this? This is like a histogram, okay? And again, I generate this in Excel because when I do it, I'm not that good. This is from Excel. This is from Excel. Okay? A pivot table. It's come out from a pivot table. Yeah. And so you have the on the x-axis, you have the range of discharge. If you go to the pivot table, it allows you to group to beam. Okay, so you can pick your beam. And for example, I find out that less than 16 is not that many provider. Okay, the number of provider is on the y-axis, so you count. Okay, how many provider is under 16 discharges? The volume. This is the volume ranges, right? So it's about 120 providers with less than 16 discharges on heart failure. So probably these hospitals are in very, very healthy area that they don't have that many people with heart failure, okay? And then look at that, we have almost to the right, over 516, okay, for just 1 year, remember? FY 2016, for 1 year, there are almost like 100 providers. Their annual volumes on heart failure patient is over 516. I think Vanderbilt is one of them. Yeah, I think Vanderbilt or the hospital in the southeast is a lot of people with heart failure problem. Okay. And then on the right, it is a box plot. Okay, and this box plot also generated by Excel. Okay. You can generate a box plot in Excel, and as long as you know the minimum, the first quarter, median, third quarter, maximum, and the average, then you can draw that graph, the box plot with whisker. Okay. And then the dot is the median, 164. So the average volume of heart failure in the nation is about 164 per provider. That means on average, a hospital has around 164 patients with heart failure. Remember what is the level of this study here on this slide is per provider. Okay, it is per provider, per hospital. And why I say hospital, because this is the inpatient claim that people come to the hospital and stay overnight. So this is in hospital, not clinic, but hospital. Okay. And so, any question so far? Are you able to generate this from either Python, SAS, Stacker, or Excel? I did this in Excel. Yeah. So just simple as Excel, because I'm thinking you may not have SAS because of the license. You may not familiar with R, so I just did it in Excel. Excel is more like optional. So I'm able to have the same number. Is it here? More or less the same number. So on average, in the nation, about 164 heart failure patients in a typical hospital in a year. This is for a whole year. Okay. So that means each month divided by 12. So about 15, 13 patients each month. Medicare patients, because this is only Medicare data, not including Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, not include commercial market. This is only Medicare data. Okay. hey, when I compare with Tennessee, okay, in Tennessee, the red line is Tennessee. Again, I generate this in Excel. And we have the distribution. Then on the right-hand side, we have the box plots. And looks like that Tennessee is not much different from the nation. And about a typical provider in Tennessee, the average number of heart failure patients in a year is about 140. So it's about 10, 11, divided by 12, about 10 and 11 patient, heart failure patient in a typical hospital in Tennessee. So they are more or less the same. Yeah. Yeah, that Tennessee definitely greater than 516, that red line in that dotted line. Yeah. All right. So this is the volume. How many patients? Okay. And then let's go to money. Okay. The money, the same. You did the same. Instead of the total discharges, you like go to find the average. What cost? How much it costs to treat a heart failure patient on average by a typical provider, okay, in the nation? $80,000.
I don't understand what was in the current situation. When I was going through the exam, the dollar amounts were all in like a string. So
Yeah,
I had to convert it. Like,
This one? Or
the columns would contain the dollar amounts.
the dollars?
Yeah.
Oh, in the raw file?
Yeah, but the commas, because the commas,
Yes.
separated.
Oh, if you use the, yes. You have to convert it to numeric because of the format. They have the comma, they have the dollar sign there. So yeah, I ran into that problem when I used the SAS to read it, and then it couldn't recognize because it considered as a text. I cannot do any calculation. Yeah, it's right. The same thing. Yeah. So I go back to the raw data and then make it numeric. Yeah, just filter out all the format, like the comma. Yeah. Then it will be good. Then it will be numeric. Then you can do all the calculation. Remember, you have to multiply the total discharges. Then it allows you to do the calculation. So this is pretty expensive, right? A typical heart failure patient, it costs $80, $80,000 because this is thousand, okay? $80,000, right? To treat on average. This is pretty expensive. And then this is the Tennessee. And then when I put them together, wow, it's much cheaper in Tennessee. It's only $63,000. Much cheaper relative to 80, okay? Right? So why it is cheaper in Tennessee? That we have less severe heart patients, or the provider charge less? In Tennessee, a typical, of course, a typical, I'm not talking about a specific case, but on average, a typical is only like $63,000. Or is the $63,000 really lower than $80,000? Or it is random? It so happened because of FY 2016. It is random. So in R, you probably will get this, okay? You have the distribution, you have the box plots, okay? And you have the red line is the mean. I put a red line here to signify the mean is there, okay? Of course, you could put a lot of fancy stuff, label, text, box, etc., okay? Different color, okay? But basically, you get the information there. Okay, this is our last slide. So I would like to compare Tennessee with the nation. On the top, on our right-hand side, the top is the national distribution of average charge on heart failure patient. And on the lower panel, it is Tennessee. And you can see in Tennessee, we are more normal and more clustered together. But in the nation, it's more spread out, it's more skilled. Okay? And on the lower panel, you have the box plots side by side. It is a horizontal box plot. And the top is the national one. The bottom is the Tennessee. You can see in the national, you have a lot of those like circle to the right. These are called extremes, outliers. Okay. So in the nation, a lot more outliers. And that's why it pull up the mean. Mean is what? Mean is you sum all them up divided by the number of people. If you have a few in the very, very extreme, it will pull up your mean. And so then in the nationwide, you get there. Okay? And look at the box plots for Tennessee. Pretty close together. We don't have much extreme people. They are more or less the same there. So it is pretty like center. Okay. And this is the output from SAS. And I tried to find out whether the average of Tennessee and the average of the national, are they more or less the same? It is on average charge per case. Have you seen this before in your job?
Average charge a little bit equal to average charge.
Yeah, average charge, yeah. So the last questions in the workshop number 6 is when you compare the Tennessee with the nation, what can you tell about the nations?
Is that average cover charge?
Average, yeah, average charge.
No, average cover charge.
Oh, yeah, it's this, yeah, average cover charge. I just make it a medium.
Do you normally use like here as a central tendency?
Yes. So sometimes the very first one you look at the mean, and here you look at the mean, then you say, no. That's why we have always do a box plot to see whether mean is a valid comparison. And you see that because of the so many extremes there, so comparing the mean may not be valid. It's just so valid. So you might want to go to the second step to compare the median. And there is a statistical test on test whether the two medians are the same. This is the test to test whether the two means are the same. And obviously the output here saying that it is not the same. The hypothesis here is whether the mean cover charges is the same for Tennessee and with the nations. And the test here, the test on mean, this is a t-test procedures. And I think R, they also have a t-test too. And it says that no, the average is 34 versus 28, and Tennessee is much lower. This is the mean of the nation. This diamond is the mean of the nation, and this is the mean of Tennessee. And you see here by the graphic, it already showed that the mean of the nation is much higher than the Tennessee. The reasons why it is like above the medium because of all these dots here. Okay, I bet if you don't include this, the mean will drop it back. So the next step is, this is the Tennessee mean and median. They are pretty normally distributed, so that's why the mean and the median the same. But for the national, because it's so skewed, the mean is way, way high up above the median. Okay, so you are right. This is only the first step. Oh, sorry, not yet. Okay. And this is the first step to test the mean. But by this box plot, the most legitimate is to test on median, which is for next year. Okay, come back next year and I will show you how to test the median. How about that? Okay, all right. So this is on my last slide. And I hope you enjoy the workshop today. And I will post this onto the website, and Chet will help us. And then just check our website. And if you like in the Christmas time, if nobody visit you, then you can pull this up and then turn on your laptop and then see whether you generate all these top 10 on all these histogram, the same as what are in the slides. Deal?
Santa will come to your house.
Yeah, call me that you want to have afternoon tea. Okay, so, and see up there, I also include the SAS codes and the SAS output here. I hope it pull up. It didn't pull up. It may not pull up, yeah. So, all right, so is there any particular slide that you want me to go through, or you are more interested in, or you have a long day? Yes. Yes, please. Let me cut it off from the broadcast.